What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another special video. So about 2 weeks ago, I made a video titling the best spots or my favorite spots to grind for all AP levels. Now I wanted to expand on that video and do this, but for Agris. So everyone knows that Agris is literally something where you get more trash loot. You do the adventure journals, and then you start with 20,000, do the quest all the way to the 100,000. So you get 20,000 a day, and you can have a total of 100,000 total. So I wanted to go over this video because Agris is important. You get more silver an hour by having it, and some places are a lot better than the others with it. So yeah, I wanted to mostly just tell you my thoughts and opinions. You guys can leave your feedback as well. But yeah, I've grinded a lot of spots, and some just I think are interesting to use it on. So as a general rule, if there's a lot of enemies in a certain area, I think that usually it's not the best because your Agris does drain, and there is a not really a hidden amount, but it doesn't really tell you unless you actively watch your Agris and how much each enemy takes. So let's keep that in mind. So what I wanted to do is start with the roughly 190 area. We'll start with Centaurs, the golden standard of grinding in 2022, because that's the place you just go for silver and a lot of stuff. So where is that? Centaurs. As you guys know, Centaurs is the place where everyone tells you to go if you are like a newer character or newer player and you just don't have a lot of gear. You make a lot of silver here, but this is one of the places where you have to use Agris because the trash loot is worth 21,000, and I think you get like 3 to 7 if you just use a yellow loot scroll. And if you use Agris on top of it, you get like 10. So it's actually a lot. This competes with pretty high-end spots for endgame players just because the trash loot like stacks up with it. So as you guys know, Centaurs has always been good, but you have to use Agris on it, and that's just very important. Otherwise, even if you don't, like, it's not the worst, but it's more than a normal jump in your average hour. And so I guess what my standard is when I'm looking at all of these is if you use 20,000 Agris, so like, for example, you get 20,000 a day. That's what we're comparing our baseline to. 20,000 a day, you do 1 hour of whatever your grind is. Will it be more than X amount of silver? The answer should be like over maybe 150 mil difference with Agris and without. That's generally what I go for. So Centaur is definitely a huge one. I'm gonna make this a noticeable one because Polys is a good place for seasonal characters. I don't really think this is good for season, but this is just a general good spot to go grind, especially as a season. And I wanted to talk about this one because, as you know, the Wusa came out. A lot of people are playing that. And the new season started as of last week. And you have no idea where to go grind after like 58. I did 58 to 60 at Polys. And you get a lot of skill points and XP. It's not really good for Agris, but you get stuff done there. Okay, so next on our list is Shuriken Night and Day. Shuriken, in my opinion, is a very solid spot for Agris because the trash loot is like, this is one of the spots where there's a lot of density in the grind spot. Like that means there's a lot of enemies in the circle in one rotation. And the tokens of bravery, which is the trash loot, they give a lot of them because, you know, so there are some enemies that give like, I don't know, like 1 through 4 trash loot. And then if you have a yellow scroll, you get like 4 to 7. And then with this one, for example, it just gives you like a lot as a base. So like the base is always higher than 1. And so with Agris, this one is a very good one. I think you make roughly around like 500 mil an hour here. This is a little bit of a jump from Centaurs because Centaurs, I would say, is entry level gear with like 190. And With Shuriken, I think the AP is pretty accurate. However, one notice I would recommend if you were in this spot is the DP. Now it's not necessarily a difficult spot, but the enemies here do have a lot of CCs, and like I think it's the two-hander one, and that one will basically knock you down, and then they will swarm you because there's a lot of density in the area. So if you get CC'd and you don't have that much gear, and then you're getting hit by like 8 different enemies, you're probably gonna get chunked in health. So I just want to say be careful with this recommendation on gear. But I would recommend, if you are basically at the end of season, full pen, everything, you're probably around like 230, 240 AP and like 300 DP. So I think you'll be fine. But if you're going in at exactly 230, you might really want to watch out for this one. So I'd recommend like 270 and up DP, and then you'll be fine. So good spot, especially with Agris. AP is pretty accurate. DP, I would go a little bit above 230, and then you'll be fine. As for the nighttime, it's a little bit of a different mechanic in this whole grind spot in general. So daytime is grinding, you know, mobs in circles as normal. What you do at nighttime is you spend energy at these like rock thingies, and basically it summons a boss that gives you a lot of loot. And Agris in this spot is very good at nighttime, but you are using energy. I think the only reason why you would be grinding Shuriken at night is mostly for the infinite health potion piece, and the drop rate is higher for boss enemies, and I think there's a higher chance of you getting the ancient straight drop from the nighttime crystal, but you are using energy as well. And you do get the other stuff, but a little bit less rare. I think doing it during the daytime is just generally what most people are going to do. But if you just have a lot of energy, nighttime is definitely good, and especially with Agris on. Okay, next things I would recommend. Sakraya Upper is a little bit different. I don't think I would recommend it there, but it is a pretty good and notable spot just because there's an item in the upper that is not listed in the description here, and that is the Rich Merchant Ring. So it does have a lot of drops, especially if you are going for everything, but Sakraya is one of those things I just wanted to mention because it's a very good spot, both upper and lower, but it is kind of like out of the way, and people always grind there. So just one of those things I would recommend doing. Agris, maybe not so much. Let's see, what do we have? We have Renaros and Monchums. Let's talk about these two. These are both infinite potion pieces. This one is for health one, Renaros that is, and Monchums is for the infinite mana potion. Now, I've personally grinded a ton of hours. I've grinded 200 pity pieces here. I've never gotten to straight drop. I have 2 infinite mana potions, and I had to get a pity twice for it. So this Monchums with Agris is not bad. It kind of goes a little bit quickly, but I think the trash loot payoff using it is not bad at all. Same with Renaros. Histria is a spot I've been at for about maybe 300 something hours over the past 3 months. And basically, in terms of Agris, you go from like 10,000 loot to 20,000 loot with in an hour with Agris. So you get an extra 10,000, which is about 150 mil. That's where I took my standard from. Is this the best spot to use Agris? I don't think so, but I don't think it's bad. It's actually like one of the spots I would recommend using it on if you were there. Akhman, on the other hand, there's a lot of it. It's fine, but just know that your Agris is gonna burn pretty quickly, even if it says using Agris and there's less one. So there's a tag for it as well. You can click this one, or I don't know if you can click it, but if you just go hover over it, it'll tell you, are these spots good for Agris and not. Actually, hold on. Now that I think of it, let's look at this. Is there a... Is there a way to search by tags in this? I have no idea. But yeah, Ackman and Histria, pretty good. Just know that in an hour, you're going to use more at Ackman than Histria. So yeah, if you're just trying to burn it, that's good. Some of these tags are, I mean, they're true, but you know, I don't think you're at Sulfur for the Spectre's energy. Just kind of throwing that out there. Yes, it does drop. Is it good? Not really. If you're going for Spectres, by the way, Thornwood is probably the best place to go for it. I believe it has the highest drop rate. And yeah, if you need a Spectres, Thornwood is the way to go. Kratuga. This is the spot that you have to go under in the Hazra Cliff, basically. So there's like, you know the Hazra Cliff by doing the Awakening quest line, right? And then there's a little door that goes into Kratuga. And if you're there at Kratuga, you pretty much know what you're doing. So I believe that is a very good spot for Agris. And it's like, it's pretty solid for just overall trash and loot and then rare items in general. So Kratuga is a spot for artifacts. And I've always made my opinion that if you are targeting something in particular, let's take, I don't know, magic AP as the artifact. Now, there are a few other spots to get magic AP artifacts. However, I believe that grinding in Kratuga overall would be a better chance. So, for example, I used to grind Monchums for this magic AP one, and I would get one artifact every, like, maybe 1 or 2 artifacts an hour. Now, keep in mind, it might not be the magic one. It's a 1 in 3 chance to get it in here. If you are grinding Kratuga, I think you get like between 5 to 10, or maybe not 10. 10's on the higher end, but like at least 5 artifacts an hour. Even though there's a higher pool, there's like a higher chance of you getting an artifact, and eventually that one will be higher. And so I believe Kratuga, if you're looking for like literally any artifact, is the best spot to go for anything in particular. Just because the higher chance of getting artifacts, there's a higher chance of you getting the one you want. And just overall, yeah, if you just want it to sell for silver or like turn it into that thingy or alchemy it and then turn it into the lightstone, this is also a very solid spot. Plus the loot is pretty good. Getting Laytons and Tungrads is always nice. Sadly, Elcars have dropped in price. Remember when Elcars were hard maxed at like 300 mil? Yeah, now they're only 60 mil each, and at least on the NA server. And in terms of trash loot, it's not bad. You want to use Agris for here, or for sure here. And so I do believe that this is a very solid spot. Let's see. What else is here? Usually Marnie Realm, or not Marnie Realms though, LVL Realms are not really that good for Agris. I understand that people are like, oh, Elvia Realms are the high-end spots, but realistically, they take so much Agris, you're better off not using it there. The amount you're making is not really worth much. This is just the underwater. This is a good spot, not for Agris, but it's a good spot to grind. Churros. Now, this is a very special spot because if you're here for 2 things only. The Flame, which is to get your Fallen God armor, or you're here for Turo Belts, because this is the only spot that drops Turo Belts. Now, this says it's Agris, which I believe is fine because your clear speed is not going to be that fast. This is also a party spot where you grind with your friend. I do have videos of it myself, and I remember grinding out an entire 100 embers, and then I got a straight flame drop midway, like around like 70. So yeah, this is a good spot. You do make a good amount of silver. It also depends on who your grind partner is. If are they geared? So yeah, I think this is a good spot. Gyphon Upper. Gyphon is just a good spot just in general, both upper and lower. Obviously, lower is for the higher geared players, but the one thing I think about Gyphon Upper is you need a party of 5 to be there. So obviously, if you want to maximize your Agris gains, you kind of have to run with a group of people who are kind of above the gear minimum, which is hard to say, or like hard to find a group unless you just literally have a guild and you're like, okay, let's all go, and then yeah, that's it. But yeah, Geifred Upper, very good spot. Hardest spot, or the hardest part of this one, is finding a party of 5, but other than that, very solid for Agris. Paddock's Island. This has a treasure piece, which is the Rich Merchant Ring, and I believe that is really the only reason you'll be here. This spot for Agris is not bad, but it's one of those things that's kind of out of the way. So to show you where Paddock's Island is, it's out in the middle of the ocean right here. And I understand not everyone has a boat, and along with not everyone has a compass to get here either, or get compassed by your friend. So Paddocks used to be a group grind spot, and they changed it to solo, which I think is good. However, like, getting to that spot is probably one of the worst things you can do. And for the gear score recommendation, the amount of silver you make an hour with Agris is probably like 500 mil, maybe a little bit more depending on like how many ethereal earrings you get. But overall, I don't think Paddocks is the place to be with your gear. You could literally get more at like Orcs or something, or Sakraya. And well, Sakraya is also in the ocean, but like the other spots are better with lower gear score requirements here. So if you want to use Agris here, that's fine, but just know, like, if you're over the 270 bracket, you could probably be making a lot more somewhere else. This spot is probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I like the concept of, like, you pay energy and then you get waves of enemies swarming you, like survival thingies. Those are cool. However, this was literally the least buff thing, and for the amount of gear score it recommends, there's an easy and hard mode. Easy, I believe, is like 250 AP. Hard mode is 280. Neither of them are really that difficult. Hardest part about doing Winter Tree Fossil is literally not getting hit by the explodey things, and so I think DP is more important. But anyway, this really needs to be buffed. It kind of sucks. I don't think anyone should be here. Let's see. Jade Starlight Forest is one I would highly recommend as well, especially with Agris. The difference in trash loot is very significant. So this is a good spot because you are going to be going for the embers and the frost in general, or the flame. If you don't know, just use it, or this is used for the Labresca helmet. And yeah, this is really one reason why you're here. Labresca helmets and witches tokens. So yeah, trash loot is about maybe like 600 mil an hour here. I'm also saying this as a more geared player, but if you aren't using Agris, it's probably about 400, and then with Agris is over 600, depending on your RNG as well. But yeah, very solid spot to use it on. The only thing I would recommend here is you have a lot of weight, or you horse stack your trash loot, because you are going to get a lot here. And as we talked about before, you know how some spots like give like 1 to 4 trash loot, and then with blue loot scroll or yellow loot scroll, you get like 4 to 7. This one gives like 20. And then sometimes if you kill the awakened ones or the elites, and it gives you like a fat 150 or 160 drop. You really do need a lot of weight here. So this is a very strong spot for Agris. However, just know that you're gonna need a horse stack, or have a lot of maids, or I don't know, a lot of weight. So very good spot. I'd recommend it. It's actually probably up there in like top 3 of Agris usages. Not really good. Ore camp is definitely not good for Agris. You just drain like 100k in about 20 minutes. So yeah, I know the trash loot is very good here, but not with Agris. I would just don't use it somewhere else. I think that's oh no. Oh, Olins. Yes, we use Olins. This one's a special one because you don't have Agris running at all times. You want to use Agris on the big golems, and because that one has the highest drop rate of loot, or not loot, but like the trash loot is higher when you kill the big golems. So this is one of those kind of sketch ones where I'd say yes, you use it, but you also turn it off and on because you only want to use it on the big ones. But overall, Olins is a good spot for Agris. It's a very scary spot, and people who are thinking about learning it for the first time just expect to die there because there's a lot of mechanics you have to learn. AoEs hit hard. It recommends 388 or DP. That doesn't even matter. I've seen people at like 450 DP just get clapped here. So it's learning the mechanics that's the most important part here. And even with like 400 DP, I literally, like, if you don't know the mechanics, it doesn't matter. You're gonna die. So yeah, good spot that you turn on and off. And yeah, that's cool. I believe that is it. So those are the spots that I would recommend for Agris. Now, keep in mind, I just want to say it's not that grinding other spots is bad. There are some spots that are better with Agris, and that's the point of this video. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or you want to drop your feedback as well, by all means, I'd be happy to hear it. But yeah, if we want to go over a quick summary, I would say that Jade Starlight Forest is definitely number 1. Krituga, probably number 2. And I would say Shuriken Daytime is my number 3. And then Akhman and History are 4 and 5. So yeah, those are my top 5s for the spots, but I don't think like it really matters. It really depends on your gear itself and where do you feel like grinding. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully we expanded on it. Also, before we head out, I want to leave the link in the description to my old video, and it was basically like my favorite grind spots for all levels, and then we have a more in-depth chat about what spots I think are good in general. And this one was more of like an expansion on which spots are good, but with Agris. So yeah, that's it. And if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Would love to see you guys come back. Hopefully you have a fantastic day, and maybe we'll see you tomorrow.